What's up, guys? Dylan here, and welcome to the channel. My phone's still moving from shaking it, from pressing the start button. So I'm going to make this quick video going over the FUD in the market right now and give you some hope, right? Give you some positivity and some things to think about. So before I get into it, smash the like button, hit subscribe. It gets the video out there. If you like it, if you do it, if you don't, it's all right. It's cool. I'm gonna keep making them anyways, because this is my journey. Anyways, let's get into it. So I'm listening to this interview that Patrick Bet-David did on Valuetainment with this guy named Metakovan. That's his handle, Metakovan. It's Metakovan. I have it on my other screen over there. And the guy went from not having enough money, hardly being able to, being able to afford a laptop, to finding cryptocurrency, and building his life around that. And he's like 99.9% all in cryptocurrency. Maybe a billionaire, maybe not. Doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. But the most important thing is to, because he talks about, what does it matter being a billionaire? What does it matter, your worth? It's not as important, right? Who cares if you're a billionaire or a millionaire, right? What's important is that you're able to live the life that you want and you're able to make a positive impact. So he has some very insightful things and thoughts around crypto, what it means. He bought a $70 million NFT, right? A piece of artwork to go in the metaverse, a digital world. So he talked about the metaverse and what it represents. And he's giving these perspectives as someone that's not in the United States, which is awesome, right? And the empowerment that cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, other cryptos represent and bring to people that aren't the top nation in the world, right? Aren't from that, right? Aren't the major skin color, aren't who the world's built around, right? People that have traditionally been isolated or oppressed, right? And with the digital world that we're in, there are these opportunities for them to take control of their destiny, take control of their lives, and own things, right? And be a part of something. And I think it's really powerful. So I definitely recommend, following this guy, checking him out, and listen to some of his stuff. He was featured on I think it's Nas Daily or whatever, did a segment on him. And just a really cool story. And it just shows, when you really believe in something and you commit to it, just, obviously you got to be smart, but you learn, it's just you don't have to be born a genius. You can learn. You get smart through, observing and putting things into practice and trying again, failing, and, finding something that resonates with you and sticking to it. That's what it sounds like this guy does. And it's super cool. But he's talking about how there's a common perception about crypto, and I had this, and we all, if you're in crypto, you have your crypto origin story about how are you when you first heard about it, where were you at in your life, and what'd you think of it, and then what about the next time you heard about it, what did it take to finally get you involved in it, to see what it is, right, to see the possibility, see the potential. And I was listening to so anyways, he's talking about, where people think it's a bubble. So a good example is a guy called Peter Schiff. Peter Schiff runs an investment firm. He gives a lot of financial advice, and he's been notoriously anti-crypto, anti-Bitcoin for the past 10 years. He knew about it back in 2013. I was just graduating college, and I had heard about it, kind of, but not really. I was focused on getting a corporate job and playing my role, and I was thinking that was being cool and progressive, and that was setting me up, and I've learned a lot since then about how big the world is outside your little bubble of safety. And once you go out there, you start seeing things a lot differently, right? You're exposed to a lot of new perspectives. It's like the classic fairy tale, where the princess or the prince or the character that lives in the castle or the kingdom gets lost, right, outside of the castle, and they're essentially venturing into the unknown, and they start to realize there's a whole world out there that they didn't even realize existed. But anyways, Peter Schiff, anti-Bitcoin, says this bubble is going to burst, right? He's been saying this for 10 years, and it hasn't burst yet, right? It hasn't burst, and he keeps saying that it's going to happen. And he could be right, maybe, but after a certain amount of time, it's you can keep doubting it, or you can start to believe, and that's kind of what happened to me, and that might have happened to you, right? You doubted it, you didn't pay much attention, then you start paying attention, you're like, wow, this is legit, this is real. And then you listen to some guy like this Metakovan guy who has been in it since the beginning, or at least like earlier than you have, and see what they've done. And then you hear how they believe about it, how they talk about it. And you're like, you know, sure, they could be people trying to deceive other people to create this massive Ponzi. That's what Peter Schiff says. If you get in early, you know, you're fine, but and then you try to bring more people in, you create this massive Ponzi scheme and pyramid scheme type thing. He's like, because Bitcoin doesn't do anything. But when you hear someone who's like been in it talk about it, and the things that they value and what it represents and the opportunities that it creates, you know, it really takes some thought and it makes you think, it makes you question, it makes you at least you should really consider their perspective and consider how, you know, what that means. What would it mean if you believed that, right? And what would it mean if you saw an opportunity? Because life is all about seeing opportunities and and taking advantage of them, right? You know, it goes back to when we were just monkeys living in trees, right? It's like you see an opportunity to go get a ripe fruit, you go for it, right? You see an opportunity to go grab a squirrel so you can eat it, you do it, right? You look for the right opportunities, right? You see a leopard on the jungle floor, well, you don't go down there then, right? Or if you don't see it, you're down there and you get got by the leopard. So, it's all like that's what we do, right? Seeing these opportunities and taking advantage of them. And some just wait, right? And some get in earlier, some, whatever, right? But listening to this guy talk about what it means to him, talk about, he's talking about the things that, you hear in the crypto circles. And I didn't pay much attention to them until I had a kind of an slight epiphany this past fall, where I was like, I'm spending my time and energy on consumables. And how can I start spending my time and energy on investing in assets, things that will grow, right? Rather than just consumption, how can I put that money towards an asset? And how can I, instead of going to a coffee shop, really good example, because a lot of us do that. How can I take that $5, $6 that I save from going to a coffee shop, and how can I invest it in something? And then I found Robinhood first, right? You can just put $5 in there really easily and put it in a stock instead of buying coffee with it. You're going to spend it anyways. Super powerful. And then I found, cryptos from there, right? Oh, wait, I can do the same thing on Coinbase. I can do the same thing on Binance US. I can do the same thing on these other Gemini, Kraken, right? And I can just put like $5 in and buy some Bitcoin, or buy some this other one, Ethereum. I can learn about these things. I can invest in a company, and it's like, that's cool, right? And that's what it was at first. And then I was like, well, I want to know more, right? Why is this stuff important? What's going on with it? What does it represent? Why are people so excited about this? Is it just some scheme, or is it real? And listening to this guy talk about it, he's talking about the fiat system and how the fiat money can be just continuously printed. And so it's like an illusion, like you don't realize you don't realize you're getting poorer and poorer as governments can just print more money, right? If you own assets, your assets can increase in value. But if you don't own assets, then you are holding on to something, cash, money. It's like funny when you see all the people with like the pictures of like all the cash in front of them. Like before, it's like, oh wow, that's a lot of money. Now I'm like, wow, that's a huge liability, because that cash is depreciating. Like it's being debased at 15-20% per year. At this point in time, right? It was a little bit less before, but it's been slowly, and it's now speeding up. And as this speeds up, there's more and more threat to your ability to own anything, right? You're like, if you think about it, I think it's really interesting. This is like constantly brought up about how the money's not backed by gold. It can just be printed, and about about ownership of things, privacy, right? You're seeing the privacy issue and ownership of things, and being able to access society and community with everything that's been going on with social media these past few years, with people getting canceled, just taken off of it for saying things that, certain people or groups don't agree with. And, so you're seeing these issues and trends play out, and then you hear someone who's in crypto, they talk about these things and these things that they value, and how crypto represents a new, an alternative, a new world, an ability to be able to have your privacy, be able to own assets that aren't being devalued, that creates so many levels of innovation, and it's pretty powerful. So I guess the main point that I wanted to make today is that, you know, when you're outside of it, you may be like, oh my gosh, all these people are crazy, which is totally fine. You know, like I did that too. And you may think they're all crazy, right? And that, you know, what are they so excited about? But then when you actually, and I guess I would, if you're in that position, I would just say, hey, just take a minute and like really look into it, right? Learn about it. Um, read the Bitcoin Standard, just because it does a good job of breaking it down. It's a popular book on it. Just learn what it represents and what it means, and like what it means to people, but also what it can have, what type of impact it could have on our society. And you know, for me, I took that it allows people to have more freedom, more privacy, so control over their life, more ability to hold wealth, so that their work, things that they build in their lifetime, aren't just taken away, right? Aren't just like taken away slowly while they're not looking. You know, it's just like it just, I don't know. I just feel like it's very empowering for people, no matter who you are, to realize this. And also, it's like super cool because I had been thinking about trying to invest in real estate, things like this, like what kind of assets can I put my money into, and just didn't ever, you know, didn't have the time, or it was just a big hurdle. It's like, oh, well, I got to deal with a mortgage and things like this. Like, you can literally start, like, put your money into crypto, and you know, you have less risk, not investment advice, but less risk in like Bitcoin versus like some obscure altcoin. You can put it in there and just leave it, and like that be your savings account. And you can start with just like $1 a day, or like $5. And you know, if it's money you're just saving for a rainy day, like, it's not a guarantee, because there's no guarantees in life. But if the past 10 years of Bitcoin continuously going up, and the crypto ecosystem going from, you know, 100 billion to 200 billion to 500 to now over 2 trillion, and still has a ton of more growth potential, like, you're buying a piece of that market, right? You're buying a piece of that real estate, and you're also buying what it represents, like more power over your own life and your finances, and like the lives of your children or grandchildren. And I've talked with a lot of people about that are entrepreneurs in the space, and they're like, one of the biggest things that attracted me was, you know, this is something that you can put like wealth in for my kids, right? I can create this generational wealth. I can create an asset for them that's going to grow, and I know is going to grow, so that they'll be better off than what I am today. Because there's a big issue about, you know, our parents' generations, you know, having money but they're not passing it on, right? There's like, that's a thing that's happened. And then if you start thinking like even outside your own, you know, your own bubble, especially if you're in America, or in a privileged, like a very like well-to-do privileged society, and think about what this represents to people where like their currency has no value. So I went to Argentina, and I always talk to people about how cool it was in Argentina, where as an American you can go down and you don't want to use the normal exchange rate, because it was like, at the time I went, it was 8-1 pesos to the dollar, but you can go on the black market, the blue chip rate, and you can get 12-1 or 14-1 or 15-1, right? So almost doubling your purchasing power down there, because everything was still priced at the 8-1 ratio. And I learned when I was down there, I didn't connect this with Bitcoin or anything like that. I didn't connect, even though I experienced it. I learned that the people down there, the reason why they were willing to pay a premium, right, was because a premium. Turns out it's not really a premium. It's what like really the value should be, and they're just being shortchanged by the government for the government exchange rate. But anyways, so the government can accumulate dollars versus pesos. You can't bring dollars in there. You can bring dollars in. You can't get dollars out of Argentina. But people were willing to invest more in it, because that dollar, they knew their money was decreasing in value by the day, you know, right, or by the month, by the year. And so they knew that it'd be better for them to pay 14-1 and instead of 8-1, like 14-1 for that dollar, or more than that government exchange rate for these American tourists that are going down there, because that represented security for them, right? That then their wealth wasn't just going to disappear if the currency all of a sudden went to 40-1, right? Because, and so they knew that, and I experienced that then. And as someone who's coming from a place with higher wealth, or with more value of my more purchasing power, that was cool for me, because, you know, it means a steak was cheaper, wine was cheaper. But when you look at what it represents to people living there, it's like, if they could invest in the US dollar, right, or something that was more secure, it ensured their livelihood for not just that year but the years to come, because they didn't know what was going to happen with what they knew. It was their currency was going to go down, and they're going to have a harder and harder time keeping up, right? It was a way for them to maintain wealth and value. And that same thing in what this Metakoven guy is talking about, like, he's been in it, and this is what a lot of people who have really been in crypto, this is the point they keep coming back to. And you know what, it could just totally be wrong, but at this point in time I don't necessarily believe that. But they keep coming back to is like, that's happening to you and I, right? That's happening to people all over the world, especially with COVID, with all the printing of the money recently, right? The power of the dollar, the currency is being weakened, right? Because more of it's printed, and so more and more is being printed to benefit the people who can print the money versus benefit the people who they get the money. So they print the money that pay the people to do the jobs, right, for them, so they can keep their economy going, but they're essentially paying you less because they just printed like $1 trillion. So now you like, over the past year, I think it was like 25% increase in the monetary supply, something like that. So if you got paid the same as you did last year, you're actually getting paid 25% less. So your labor is even cheaper, and you're getting less in return. So that's why prices will go up, right? Become more expensive assets will go up, and it can create a very vicious feedback cycle and loop. And if it goes too far, we've all heard the stories, if you haven't, about countries where their currency is hyperinflated, right? I think the most famous example people represent is like the Weimar Republic in Germany. I think it was after World War I or something, where people would like just shoveling, like, just the rapid decrease in the value of their currency. People were just shoveling notes into wheelbarrows and like, here, can I use this to pay for coffee? Right? Zimbabwe, I think, was one. Someone posted a picture. They had $1 billion bill from Zimbabwe because everything was just, the currency was just so inflated that's the how they had to represent it, which is wild. And so just kind of crazy stuff to talk about and think about. And the big point that Metakoven made is like, people like to say cryptocurrency is a bubble inflating. And he's like, but I really like to look at it as the fiat system, the current monetary system, is the inflating bubble, and cryptocurrency is the pen to burst that bubble. And it is also the lifeline. It is the oxygen mask in the crashing airplane, the lifeboat on the sinking ship, and all these different metaphors. Michael says the heated igloo in the Arctic, right? It is that lifeline that has the power to, give you the power, right? So you don't have your wealth, your well-being taken away from you. So it gives you control over your future. And I think that's a pretty powerful message and a pretty powerful industry. And again, back to my last thing is, I'm always looking for the entrepreneurial activities, entrepreneurship, business opportunities, how you can impact more people more positively. Everyone's going to need to know about this stuff. Not in just like businesses are going to use blockchain technology. They're going to want to know about it. They're going to need to know how to work on Bitcoin. Like, it's just, there's so many things that are coming, and this transformational innovation is here, and there's so much opportunity. So if you're excited by entrepreneurship and excited by helping people, and you're excited by I guess riding the wave of a tremendous technological innovation that's just going to reshape tremendous portions of the planet and how we operate, whether you like it or not, like, definitely learn more about it. Watch my videos, subscribe, join my Patreon. We got more stuff coming out there, but go find other people on YouTube. There's so many people talking about it. And there's one word of warning. Because there's a lot of opportunity and because it's new, there's so many scammers out there. Don't buy in. Don't click on links in the comments. Don't don't listen to the get rich quick schemes or anything like that. Right? Don't, be careful if you try to do crypto day trading and stuff like that. There's so many, there's so many people trying to sell you things. To an extent, we all kind of are when we make these videos. The information or perspective, right? Whatever it is, right? It's another video, but just be careful out there. Don't if you know crypto, don't send your private keys to anyone. Those are yours. Don't write them. Don't put them on your computer. Don't send your crypto to anyone you don't know. Like, be very careful, double check, triple check. You know, don't click on links, and then don't click on links on one computer and then open your crypto up on that and stuff. People, there's so many things out there. So just want to give you a word of warning. Scammers have come to my channel. My channel is just so small, so new. So be safe out there. Be prosperous. Keep your head up. Look for opportunities. And really just learn more. We live in an amazing time, right? Despite all the craziness in the world, there's so much opportunity and so much possibility that it's really exciting. So hopefully you enjoyed this. The guy I was talking about is Metacoven, and so go check him out. He's definitely got some interesting things to say. Good to listen to. Good to listen to people that have been in it and have a unique perspective. So with that, peace.